Danny, obviously, short turnaround, a lot of travel for you guys. How have you managed the couple days here between games, and what's the environment been like in training?
Yeah, well, you can hear them now. Everybody's in good spirits. I said it after the game in the post-match press conference that, we're fortunate that our ownership group did everything that they could to make sure that our players are in the best position possible come Saturday. Look, there's no secret. 2,500 miles is a lot to travel in different time zones, but we've made it clear to the group that we won't accept excuses, and we'll put the best team that we can out there on Saturday night to make sure we get the job done.
Kind of just touched upon it right there, but long flight, long game even. What's that quick turnaround like? The process of kind of getting ready for Saturday.
Yeah, well, we got on a charter flight after the game. We got home at 7:30, 8 in the morning. Had the guys go home, get a little bit of rest, and we were back in the evening to make sure we got the work done that we needed from a recovery standpoint. And then obviously back out here today, and then game tomorrow. So it's, as I said, we are in a position where we feel we've done everything that we possibly can to prepare these guys physically, and we have a group that's extremely thankful for that, for sure, that wants to reward everybody with a good performance tomorrow night.
The whole rest versus rust debate, especially with a game like that that's so far away, that can be as taxing as that. Is there some advantage to coming off of a game that quick?
I think if it would have gone 90 minutes, yeah, but 120 minutes is a long time. Listen, we had two players cover almost 17K in the game, right? And the majority of them covered not far less than that. So it was a heavy physical game for the players. But again, we also have players that are recovering well. We have guys that have played a lot of minutes, and you won't see a ton of changes on Saturday.
I was going to say, is the lineup going to really change at all, or is it going to be business as usual?
There'll be a couple that we need to, just because physically maybe they're feeling something a little bit more. So pushing them is probably not smart from a starting capacity, but they'll still be able to contribute and get us something that we need as far as, call it, a little bit more limited minutes. But as I said, we feel good about it. We'll get through training today. It's just to get the crap out of their legs and then back at it. So.
Danny, Elijah signs a multi-year deal this week. You've gotten to watch him and Josh develop. What's it been like to see Elijah kind of come through the ranks and get to where he is now?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I think every single one of these young academy players that come through have a different path as far as timeline, right? And I sat down with Elijah in this offseason and had a long discussion about where I saw him in this system that we're playing. That I know he will succeed if he buys into the position change, right? Because you look at it last year, he was a little bit higher up the field, more of an attacking-minded player. This year, he's been able to do both, but really it's important from a defensive structure that he understands what we need. And he bought in. He bought in from day one, and we've been really proud of seeing his development even this year alone. We wanted to make sure that we signed him to a longer-term contract to help get him where he wants to go. This is an asset to the club. It's a player that we think has a really high ceiling, and we believe if he continues to have the year that he's had so far up to this point, that he's probably not going to be at Louisville City that much longer.
What can you say about his maturation? He's overcome injuries and so much, and like you said, learning how to play like soccer on this level. What can you say just about his continued growth, that here he is today getting an additional contract?
Yeah, that year that he had was probably one of the most difficult years mentally for him from a soccer perspective, because he spent a lot of time in the training room after surgeries, and but when you look at where he is now, he's put himself in a position that he's been on the field quite a bit this year alone. But when you add to it the performances and the growth that he's had, it's been phenomenal. And I think, I talked about timeline. All these academy kids have a different timeline, and they go through the ups and the downs. All of them go through ups and downs. But to see where he's at now, a young man that is understanding the expectation, that is working hard on a daily basis, that is taking care of his body, it's put him in the position that he's in at the moment.
I know you guys are getting more examples of that, but you came up through the ranks. That's got to be kind of rare, right, to have two local brothers come through an academy and work this way through?
Yeah, I would say especially, this is a market in Louisville, Kentucky that is, in my opinion, really undervalued nationally. and we've seen quite a bit of academy kids come through, and then to be able to see two brothers do it and have success in doing it, is pretty special. And again, there was a ton of work and a ton of people that were involved in their development and continue to be involved in their development. But it says a lot about this organization. It says a lot about our belief in the pathway that we have, and making sure that A, we're giving kids opportunity that are local from here, and then B, putting the tools in front of them that allow them to continue to grow and push towards success. On top of that, to be able to have guys where you see their last name on their jerseys, playing in finals, lifting trophies, I think that adds a little bit more meaning to it. It's probably the word I'd be looking for.
Coming into the season, kind of working back to looking at tomorrow.
Yeah.
You talked about the excuses from last year with some travel stuff
Yeah.
and such. Do you feel like this scenario is a really good test at this point in the season to see if these guys kind of took that message to heart with their approach?
Yeah, I think two things on that. I think first, when we talked about last year, when we talked about heat and turf and travel and excuses, those were certainly, I heard it too much last year. This year and this week, I think would be a little bit different in that is 120 minutes against a tough opponent and a really difficult travel scenario. However, I know that I have a group here now that will not be using it as an excuse. So if the game doesn't go well on Saturday, and I don't expect that at all, but if it doesn't, what I do know is I have a group that'll come in on Monday and say, Gaff, that wasn't good enough. Not, well, the travel, well, the heat. No, because we've made it clear to them, and they've made it clear to me that this isn't a group that is going to be using excuses this year. But I believe in the group that we're putting on the field this weekend. I believe in their ability to recover for sure. When you look at how the average age of the group has come down significantly from last year, I think that this was part of the reason that we looked to do that. And these guys have shown so far. You've seen the lineups that I've put out, been pretty similar throughout the season up to this point because those guys have earned it. But it's also because they're recovering well, staying healthy, knock on wood, and playing at a high level.
Kind of bouncing off that, is it good to have that baseline for a game like that? Like you said, like the travel, how long it was, everything on that, and maybe there's going to be harder fought games down the road, but look back at that and say, yeah, if we can get through something like that, we're good.
Yeah, no question. But I think we have our strength coach Stu. He does an excellent job of our ability to look at the physical load on the players from the game and tell me how much over our normal load was it? Was it 30 minutes, or did the load come out to be 50 to 60 more than what they're usually doing? And so we have a good ability to gauge the metrics and look at it and go, okay, this player played 120 minutes. He'll be able to give us a good 45 minutes at the pace that we expect and the level that we expect. And if we can get 15 more out of him from 45 to 60, great. If we can't, well, that's why we built the roster that we have. We pull them off at halftime, and the next guy will come in. So, I'm in a position where I feel really good about going into tomorrow. I have a staff and a club that has done everything that they can this week to make sure that the players are prepared. And you certainly won't hear me on Saturday, no matter what the result is, mention Wednesday or the travel, because I have a group and I have a staff that I don't believe in those excuses. And if that is a reason, then I probably should have played a different group on the weekend, and then you should be looking at me and not anybody else. Good? Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.